fucking shame! Get back in the embassy now!
These are the moments an official at London's Bahrain Embassy appears to batter a rooftop human rights protester with a wooden stick. They are fractions of a second, barely visible, until the footage is slowed down. But could these frames corroborate allegations from this single demonstrator that there was a deliberate attempt by Bahrain Embassy staff to endanger his life?
Go back inside the embassy!
They said, we're going to throw you from here. No,
They said?
Yeah, they said.
To you?
Yeah.
They were going to throw you off the building?
Yes. The man who's holding the wood stick, he's beating me and punched me like this, and he told me, we're going to throw you from here.
Moosa Mohammed's path to the roof was via some nearby scaffolding. As he climbed up, his colleagues on the ground monitored his progress. Once he had reached the top, he crossed onto the roof of the Bahrain Embassy. He then proceeds to unroll a banner which states, "I am risking my life to save 2 men about to be executed in the next few hours." He then started shouting, "Down with King Hamad." Down on the ground, police and firefighters gather. Officers try to communicate with someone in the building. Back on the roof, suddenly, things begin to change.
Is he saying there's someone, is he talking to someone up there?
Figures emerge on the rooftop while Mr. Mohammed straddles the ledge.
3 members of the embassy comes to me with the wood stick. One of them, he came direct to me to beat me.
Go back inside the embassy! Come the police, go back inside! Get back in the embassy now! Get back inside! Get inside!
Amid the shouting and the tension, Mr. Mohammed repeatedly cries for help. At this point, almost out of sight to those on the ground, images appear to show Mr. Mohammed being beaten with a wooden baton.
We were all terrified. We were so much scared for his own safety.
Why?
Because he was just literally on the ledge, and we can hear him saying they're trying to throw me, and he was screaming help.
Mr. Mohammed is then dragged from the ledge and disappears from sight. Back on the ground, police officers have made a decision to break into the embassy,
LFB, do you have any entry kit to get in here?
while others try to calm Mr. Mohammed's fellow activists. One shouts, "They will kill him as they killed Khashoggi."
What do you think they're trying to do? They're not polishing the door handle, mate. Use your common sense. They're forcing entry so they can get in and get in.
One bang, and they are in. And as they entered, they couldn't yet know what was happening to Mr. Mohammed on the roof.
They kick me in my body, and also they took my T-shirt, and they put it on the water, and they bring it to my face. And they put it in my face to stop breathing, and they said, "We will kill you here."
They said that?
Yes.
You remember them actually saying, "We will kill you here"?
Yes, they say it in Arabic, in Arabic. They said, "We will kill you here." Even the police officers, they were not going to help you here.
Before help did arrive, Mr. Mohammed said he clung to a railing amid threats to throw him down the stairwell, which is to the right on the rooftop.
After the first man with the wood stick told to the second man, cut the wire of cable of the satellite. And he went there and he cut it.
For what?
To tight my hand. And easy to tight it and throw me from the stairs. And they said, we will throw you from here as a sheep. And
As a sheep.
as a sheep, yeah. And I was screaming, help, help, help.
The fact that the police ordered these embassy doors to be broken into is astonishing. International conventions bar a host nation from entering an embassy without the express permission of an ambassador. But that night was exceptional. Police clearly thought Moosa Mohammed's life was in danger, and that justified forced entry. The Bahrain Embassy describes the allegations as completely unfounded and ridiculous, and adds in a statement to Channel 4 News,
The individual trespassed onto the roof of the embassy in support of known members of terrorist organisations recognised in the United Kingdom. The individual was threatening to jump off the roof, and embassy staff stepped in to restrain him for his own safety until the police arrived.
the Metropolitan Police told Channel 4 News that it received a report of a man on the roof, and upon hearing a disturbance, officers entered the building and detained the man. There is no mention of being invited into the embassy. The Met says it's not prepared to discuss further. Mr. Mohammed is now on police bail, facing allegations of trespass.
Well, earlier I spoke to Arab activist and writer Ayad al-Baghdadi, who lives in Oslo. Earlier this year, he was told by the Norwegian authorities that there was a Saudi threat against him, and he was briefly taken to a secure location. It came 7 months after the murder at the Saudi consulate in Turkey of the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. I started by asking him what his reaction had been to what happened that night at the Bahraini Embassy in London.
I really admired the man's courage. Now, the thing that really stung is the fact that he himself, is an asylum seeker. He is a torture survivor himself. So that added a whole different picture here. This is a torture victim who has been offered protection, offered asylum by the United Kingdom, trying to save a couple torture victims who are about to be executed by a regime which is an ally of the United Kingdom. It was just a very, very poignant picture.
When we saw the embassy staff on the roof and the police shouting at them, did you feel that his life was in danger?
He was being assaulted. I mean, according to what was live streamed in front of our eyes, that he was actually being assaulted by the people in the embassy. And I was wondering, are the local police actually allowed to enter an embassy? Isn't this diplomatic grounds? Are there regulations and rules and treaties, governing this? So, I still don't have clarity on that, to be honest.
I mean, in the end, the police did force their way into the embassy. Did you think what happened to Jamal Khashoggi may have influenced that decision, or should have influenced that decision?
There is a relation between the two incidents here. I think it's just Bahrain is a very close ally of Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia, the Saudi regime has a very, very heavy say in what happens in Bahrain. So these two issues really cannot be separated here.
What do you think Britain's diplomatic position should be on Bahrain now?
I really believe that a government which torture people into signing forced confessions and then kills them based upon these forced confessions should not be an ally of a democracy, especially a democracy which is, very proud of its traditions and of its roots as the United Kingdom.
Well, we also live in a world in which Britain is seeking trade deals.
You're sending a mission to 500 million people saying we don't care about our principles. You're saying our principles are for sale. How much is that worth a trade deal? That's my question.
Well, joining me now is Bahraini human rights and pro-democracy activist Ala Shahabi. Isn't it reasonable, if you have a man on the roof of your embassy in the middle of the night, to treat him as a threat? In America, he'd have been shot.
We're not in America, we're in the UK, where there are freedom of assembly, there's the right to protest, and he was unarmed. So the British police would not have shot. In fact, the British police were there to protect him, according to Bahraini law. To the extent that
they
had to
were also there
actually...
to protect the embassy, weren't they? I mean, the embassy say they called the Foreign Office about this.
Because
they had a man on their roof where they could legitimately say he could be a terrorist, he could be anyone.
The embassy is made of bricks and mortar. This is a human life up there, someone who's facing an imminent threat of attempted murder by the looks of it from these dramatic footage. Thank God for that evidence. Otherwise, it would have been the protesters' view versus the embassy's view, of which the Bahraini embassy has zero credibility with this. We have no right to protest peacefully in Bahrain. There was an imminent threat of an execution. And actually, Moosa really needs to be commended for this act of courage in which he climbed the roof with only a few hours left before these innocent men were murdered.
Well, tell us about this case and why you're so sure that they're innocent in your terms.
Well, innocent until proven guilty, at least. I mean, these men have the right to did not have a due process, did not have a free trial, access to lawyers. They were tortured, forced to confess, electrocuted.
How do you know that they were tortured?
From their confessions. It's systematic, it's institutional. There have been independent investigators that have confirmed the use and abuse of and the use of torture.
But in this particular case?
In this particular case, I think
do you know that they were tortured?
Well, the UN Special Rapporteur on torture and the UN Special Rapporteur on extrajudicial killing, Agnes Kalamard, has looked at the evidence and stated this was an arbitrary killing. This was after. I mean, they were there to try. They made attempts to stop the execution. Reprieve, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty made attempts, but the king had signed the royal order to execute these men. And knowing that the family, the day that Moosa went up to the roof, their families were given the last rights to visit the people that were going to be executed.
We do have some pictures of the reaction in Bahrain. I mean, you say there's no free protest there, but there do appear to have been some shows of solidarity. And this is what happened on the streets just after. So, I mean, when you say there is no freedom to protest, is that a free protest?
Well, that was the funeral procession. So at least we're allowed to have funeral processions. I mean, to the extent that that is the only space in which the villagers gather around the family of the killed to mourn them, turn into a
that's the only opportunity.
That's the only opportunity. The right to protest for there to be a gathering of more than 5 people is illegal. It's just illegal. There are 4,000 prisoners in there, mostly accused of illegal gatherings, just taking part in an illegal gathering. So, from that perspective, the right to protest. But we are in the UK. There is a right to protest. There was a right. The police would not have attempted to enter hadn't there been a visible threat to Moosa's life.
Ala Shahabi, thank you very much.
Thank you.